Welcome to the Code for Couples podcast, focusing on topics for law enforcement officers and couples to keep you and your relationship connected, resilient, and code for. Now, your host, law enforcement expert Cindy Doyle, author of Hold the Line and My Wife.
Welcome back to Code for Couples. This is Cindy Doyle. I have a really great guy on the podcast today. I was actually on his podcast and we have been talking for 25 minutes before I even hit the record button, just catching up. John Kelly is an enthusiastic guy with a lot of story and a lot of mission and a lot of purpose. And I just thought it was really important that I bring him onto the podcast. Let me tell you a little bit about him first. He is a 30-year veteran from Broward County Sheriff's Office. He worked patrol, investigations, K-9 training, and was in the motorcycle unit for 6 years. I'll get clarification on that. I know he's retired based upon his bio that was not updated on his website. He maybe retired in December of 2020. Is that correct, John?
That is correct, Cindy.
Okay. He has been involved in numerous critical incidences throughout his career. He's received countless awards and honors during his career as well. He is well known for his ability to educate and motivate, which you will hear in his voice, without losing the importance of the mission at hand, as he prioritizes the importance of being accountable to each other, which we were just talking about how he's doing that in retirement even. And it's definitely translating to the work he is doing now in retirement. And also, I'm going to say, to his personal life. He has been married to his wife, Nicole, for 27 years. I believe that's correct.
Yes.
And he has an ongoing joke because he shared it with me before, and he put it in his form to me, which is they've been married for 27 years. Despite his best efforts to destroy the marriage and the relationship. I know that he's going to talk to you about his story. He is the author of a book called Surviving Self-Inflicted Wounds, a Deputy's Life of Redemption. His book shares his own struggles that he faced and the impact on his family. And he has a great message to other officers as well. John Kelly, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It's really great to have you here. I really appreciate it.
Cindy, what do I say after that? Good God. Thank you. You know, in life, there are people that you come across where it seems just effortless. You're one of those people. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Yes. And John is you're going to have fun with him, but this is possibly going to be an explicit podcast. I'm just maybe predicting. I don't know.
Are you anticipating using some vulgarities?
I figured you would be using some vulgarities, but I'm not sure. Maybe not.
Trying to clean my act up, Cindy.
I want to talk. I know in the past we've talked off radio, off the podcast, off recording in the past that you have had quite a journey as far as law enforcement in your life. And I know that's a lot of what motivated you to write a book. Right. Will you tell everybody a little bit about your story? And when you said self-inflicted wounds, I know that that's a lot of your story. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh my God, sure. So many things happen to us in the law enforcement profession. It's easy to assign blame to all those things. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what keeps us stuck. I think that if we were to take a critical look at our lives, 99.9% of the time, we're the reason why we're in the place that we're at. And the things can happen to us, but ultimately it's our decisions once that occurs that creates a problem for us or not. Starting off in life, people have this misconception that the law enforcement profession does a great job of vetting applicants. They do to a certain degree, but we kind of gloss over some of the things that are problematic for us. I was an alcoholic. I grew up in an alcoholic home. And again, I can't put that on my dad. You're a product of your environment to some degree, but ultimately you decide whether or not you're going to drink or not, or to what extent. And the problem for me was there were never any consequences growing up for drinking too much, too often. It was laughed at.
It
So,
was normalized, I'm guessing.
oh
Like
my
if it's
good,
part of your family, you just grow
yeah,
up and you think that that's what's normal
it
too, right?
was. It would be easier for me to count the times when I wasn't drunk driving than the times that I was.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer you do it, the longer you get away with it, it becomes empowering. You're like, well,
Right.
I'm just never, it's not an issue. I'm pretty good at it. Then you make those ridiculous statements that like, I drive better when I'm drunk. And,
Yeah.
you're like, good God, just stop with the rhetoric. You
Mm-hmm.
don't. And so I carried that all through college. I went to a military college, and that whole military environment fuels that out of control drinking.
Yeah.
I would argue I'd like to find somebody that's a part of the armed services that hasn't gone through that journey. And it seems that, that it's normalized. Unacceptable behavior continues to be normalized. And so when I got on the job, I was a full-blown alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody had a problem with it.
Yeah. Because it was normalized.
If they if they had a problem with me, they would have had to have looked in the mirror,
Right.
and that wasn't
Right.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So, um, I started off, I was down here doing my thing, and I was pretty reckless. I was a cop in the early 90s in South Florida, and I had a license, a badge. I could do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about criminal activity. I'd never take anything that wasn't mine. But as far as conforming to laws and policies, it was the Wild West. Because at that time too, cops weren't arresting other cops.
Yeah.
We were the definition of enabling, right? We would,
Mm-hmm.
if I pulled somebody over that was blind drunk, I'd throw them in my car and I give them a ride home.
Right.
If they were that bad. If they were like, I'm like, all right, we'll get home safe.
Culture was different, right? As far back as we can go of thinking about protecting each other or having each other sick or things like that. I think that culture went back. In fact, quick story for my husband. One of the times he had a situation and he thought that that's what was expected of him. And so that's what he did. And then there was an IA about it.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm doing the right thing here. Why you guys?
Right. That's what he thought. He's like, I
Right.
thought I thought that's just what we did. Right. But it was a different time and a different
Right.
change. Throw
Those
them in the
other
back of the car,
guys,
take them home. Makes
those
sense.
other guys didn't get the memo. Those guys in IA, sometimes they still don't get the memo.
Right.
It is what it is. But no, that was just the way I was. And
Mhm.
I wasn't a violent drunk. I was the guy that was like, if my personality was a 10, if I was drinking, it was a 20. I'd be the guy on the table doing something stupid.
Gotcha.
And just
Yeah.
having fun, just making people laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty funny up until the point where I got married. And I think once you're married, there's no getting out of it now. It's like, you can't stop dating me. You're stuck. The joke's on you. Or I married Nicole in 95, and it wasn't a year into our marriage where my drinking was causing huge problems for our family.
Mm-hmm.
Totaling cars, almost killing friends, going to work drunk. And my wife's looking at me like, uh, I'm done. She's like, I'm not going to live like this. I'm not going to be your mother. My mother tolerated all of that shenanigans from my dad. She goes, no, no, not going to have it. And she kind of checked me, but it's a lot of things. You need somebody's got to hit you in the head with a 2x4 for you to say, okay, this is unacceptable. I was drunk at work one night, and I had buddies who do what buddies do. They came, they picked me up, they put me to bed at a buddy's house outside of the district. I slept it off, and they handled my calls all night.
Wow.
Right, which was great. And
not.
in hindsight, they were enabling, which I wouldn't expect them to do anything else but that. But I had two sergeants. One of them came to me that night. I'd never made it to roll call. He saw me. He goes, hey, I want to see you. 4:00 in the morning. Come meet me. And I show up and I look like Jim from Taxi, right? With the hair, the hair. And I am still 3 sheets to the wind. And he goes, I missed you at roll call. You all right? I go, yeah, I'm good. He goes, no, you're not. Go home and we're going to talk about this tomorrow. And I got to tell you, Cindy, that drive home, I sobered up quick. I just got married. I've only been on the job since 91. It's 95. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get a divorce. I mean, my life I've really screwed up. This is terrible. It was me. I mean, there's nobody to blame. I could have not gone to work that night, but I was so bold. I could have just said, I'm sick.
Yeah.
Been the logical thing to do. I was been drinking all day, riding the motorcycle all day, and it's 9:30. I'm throwing up in the bathroom trying to get ready for work. I
Mm.
could have just said, you know what? I can't make it in tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the reason, I wasn't fit for duty, but I didn't. The next day, I'm sober, and my bosses sit me down, two sergeants, Jim Twist and Ray Lewis, and they go, last night will never be allowed to happen again. I go, I'm waiting for the hammer to fall, because there have been guys that they've taken to the breath alcohol testing facility in
Sure.
handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't you don't show up to work and be drunk on duty. That's
Mm-hmm.
a cardinal sin.
Mm.
It starts to sound like they're going to give me a second chance. They said, you can either go get help or we're going to command refer you, whichever you'd like. I called our EAP, a woman that I've been friendly with. Her name was Judy Cowles. And I said, hey, I got a problem, Judy, and I need some help and direction. And she was about as cool as somebody could be. She says, John, there's an AA meeting for cops, ran by cops, in the city of Davie at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. I'm going to give you their number, and I think that'll be a good place for you to start.
Wow.
I was just
Super helpful.
I was just like, I didn't get admonished. I didn't
Right.
get lectured. It was like, you need help? All right, I'll get you help. I was just
Yeah.
like, EAP. Okay. This sounds like this, because what you hear about EAP is that they're motherfuckers and they're going to do you every chance
Right.
they get.
Right.
That's what everybody see. That's what happens when you don't get the help.
Right.
Right? They end up being the bad guys when you don't get the help. But when you get the help and you follow some of their direction, I showed up to my first AA meeting. I walked in a retired guy's house, and I looked around the room and I was like, oh, I know some people in this room. And it was kind of
Oh,
cool. Like
wow.
it was,
Yeah.
and there was one gentleman at the time, he was a higher up. He was like a colonel in my agency. And I'm like, oh shit. I got my heart started pounding. I'm like, what's he doing here? And I went up
Because you
to
thought
him.
he was there to scope
Oh,
out the room, right?
he's
Yeah.
taking notes. Who are the
Yes.
alcoholics at the sheriff's office? And I walked up to him. I went, Colonel, because now I got to know. He goes, I'm not a colonel here. I'm
Oh,
just like
wow.
you. I'm just like you, Cindy.
Isn't that interesting that these people were struggling, but nobody was talking about it? I mean, I
Oh,
think that's a big problem in general, that people don't. Are we starting to do some of it? Yes, we're starting to talk about
right.
it, but it's still shameful. It still feels shameful to say, hey, I'm struggling. And by the way, I'm going to an AA meeting. That's not something everybody will walk up to. Oh, yeah, I go to AA meetings all the time, but I struggle with alcohol.
It's not a badge of honor, right?
And yet it normalized. You were
Right.
talking about unacceptable behavior was being normalized. And then
Right.
here you are talking about, wow, the fact that these other people at the AA meeting help to normalize that people struggle,
Right.
right? That this is a real problem.
Which is why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Because if we can
Yeah.
talk about my flaws and the times that I failed, and you go, well, you might have your shit together a little bit, and that happened to you, and you did that, and but look at you now. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of trying to normalize. I like to say we're trying to normalize some really uncomfortable, difficult conversations, with the understanding that we are all the same, Cindy. We
Yeah.
all have varying degrees of issues, and we hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, which end up creating more problems for us than they solve. And the long and the short of that was, I got help, and I got a special assignment about a year after that. I was assigned to Canine, like a prestigious, high
Mhm.
profile unit, and that's a high liability unit. And so my getting a handle on my drinking, my admitting I needed help, didn't disqualify me. It didn't. If anything, people looked at somebody that saw a problem, addressed it, took action, and is owning it, right? And that's the kind of person I think that they wanted in that assignment. And so that's the other lie we tell ourselves, is that if I actually address this, then people are going to think less of me.
Right.
And it's quite the opposite. It's quite the
Yes.
opposite.
I think
So,
that I'm going to talk about that really quickly, because I have actually been asked that question directly, in the sense that some departments, and I would say a lot of departments, may look at individuals and say, oh, are you still broken? I'm going to use that word. Like
Okay.
you're broken in some way because you've admitted that there's this problem and you needed to go get help. Are you still, and I would say we're all broken.
Yeah.
I use that word all the time. Like we're all
Sure.
broken. What would you say to somebody that is willing to admit, but then has that fear of coming back? What would you encourage them with?
No bullshit, Cindy. This isn't going to be the answer you want. The importance of a command or an agency creating an environment that makes it okay to fail is so underrated. How we treat each other is a reflection. I mean, I didn't know any better. I went to somebody, I had those two supervisors were men amongst men. They knew who they were and they decided to use their rank to help somebody in need. Now, it's up to me once they give me that opportunity to fail or succeed. But what happens is, I see it more in this climate because I'm a little more mature and I've been around a little bit longer. We have leadership that's afraid to use their rank for the reason it was intended, which is to help other people, to be there for people, to support people under their charge that need help. And we've got a bunch of people in the profession right now. We've got some amazing leaders, but I can tell you again, those are few and far between because it takes fortitude, it takes courage to push back and say, no, this is my guy and this is what I'm doing for him. Everything has a risk. And when leadership attaches their livelihood to having to toe the company line, if it's not an organization that supports, that's willing to stand up like a man and say, no, this is what we're doing. Stay in your lane. I got this. Right? Those conversations aren't happening at the level that they need to be happening. And to get to your point, and I went off on a tangent, but the environment is so important that whether it's a corporate setting, how do we treat people that fail on a personal level, that stumble, that fall? How do we treat them?
I think that is so important, the personal level. How do we personally make an impact on that?
Yes. And what happens is there's a protocol and some dickbag who's never failed in their life wrote a policy designed around dealing with you. You fail. You're a liability now. How we we dismiss liabilities and you're not a liability. You're an amazing person who's human, who has fallen. And we are so afraid to extend the opportunity to redeem.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not asking anybody for amnesia, right? I'm not asking anybody to forget the failure, but let me prove to you that I can be better. Let me prove to you that I'm worth saving. Give me that opportunity. That's what I ask. And that takes balls.
It does.
That takes leadership to believe that there's something more to their rank than it to be self-serving, that their rank is in place to serve others. And you know what? If you give me that chance and I blow it, you can look yourself in the mirror and said, I gave John Kelly a chance and it was up to him to use it or not. You can wash your hands of me at that point, but we won't even give our people the opportunity to correct a mistake in their lives.
Right. Totally.
So
There's good stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, what do I say to somebody that's on the sidelines that's thinking about raising their hand? You got to go to somebody that you trust, that you can confide in, because they may know the organization and the culture. And the real way to go about getting help may not be to throw your hand up in the air and say, I need help. It may be to go to use some back channels. As long as you get help, that's the important part, right? How you get help, we can finagle that a little bit. And if the organization isn't overly supportive, if we can find that supportive person in the organization, then that's the route we take.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, that identifying or helping, even in culture, there's people that have peer support. There's a lot of departments that have peer support or counties that have peer support. And that's a great place to align or find someone. And then some departments, there's just one or two people that through the grapevine, you'll know, hey, if you're struggling, go there. I love that. Let me circle back around to
Please.
the idea of these self-inflicted wounds. And I know that they had an impact on your marriage. You said, holy crap, I just got married. I'm wrecking cars.
Right.
What did you and Nicole navigate through that to kind of like through it and then on the other side?
All right. Oddly enough, and I would love someday for you to meet Nicole, because I think if you sat down with her for 5 minutes, she'd be like, oh, I get it now. Like it all make perfect sense. The way you were with your husband, she has that importance. Nobody's irreplaceable. Whoever said that is full of shit. There are people that most definitely are irreplaceable. And my Nicole is one of them. And it wasn't bad enough with the drinking, right? The drinking is like one addiction. And it's funny, those self-inflicted wounds, just because I'm no longer drinking doesn't mean I'm no longer an addict. I'm always going to be an addict. And if it's not drinking, I'll find something else. It's just the way I'm wired. I'm not helpless. I'm not defenseless, but it's just something I need to be aware of. If it's not the drinking, for the longest time growing up, I was great at solving everyone else's problems, which is kind of why I got in law enforcement, because on a daily basis, that's all you're doing. And I was in my environment, I was in my element. I could not wait to solve the problem, whatever. And the bigger the problem, the bigger rush I got from when I was in K-9 and there's bodies everywhere. And, oh yeah, the guy ran into the woods with the gun. I throw a dip in, I grab my dog and I'm like, we'll be back in a little bit with a body. Let's rock on. It was just like that intense rush. I loved it. But I would never use those same skill sets in my own personal life. I was a master at not addressing problems. And I think a lot of that had to do with my upbringing. My mom and dad were always fighting, always yelling. And I kind of learned that it's better just to keep your mouth shut so you don't have a big fight. Because if you have a big fight, I would get in the middle of them as a very young boy. And I never got beat, or I don't want to be melodramatic, but without fail, my sister and I would be woken up at 4 a.m. every weekend night because my mom and dad were fighting, because he'd come stumbling through the door drunk. As I got older, I would get in the middle of it. But sometimes I'd win, sometimes I'd lose. But it was, I'm not going to have this in my house. I'm not going to have disagreement. I just said the way not to have disagreement is just to not voice your opinion, because there's a potential there for there to be a disagreement. And that's what I did, Cindy, for the entirety of my marriage. And it didn't matter what the issue was. It could be, if I really wanted something for dinner, like, what do you want? I don't care. I'm indifferent. What ends up happening is I'm not really indifferent. I'm just avoiding a conflict. So I start harboring I start resenting my wife for the simple fact that I can't communicate with her. I can't say, I want steak tips for dinner. I got to have fucking salad. I don't want that for dinner. But
no, I get it. I get it.
Something silly, but do that for your entire life. And it's no longer talking about steak tips, talking about life decisions. We're talking about finances. We're talking about relations with our family members. We're talking all these things, things that start to matter.
Sex, right?
Yes.
You're talking about your physical needs and
everything.
Not having physical needs or emotional needs met. Yeah.
Right. And when you can't talk about the little things in your relationship, you can't verbalize what you want for dinner. When you do have an issue with intimacy and connecting, how you address it the way I addressed it, which is you don't, and you go have an affair. When Nicole and I disconnect, it's just easier for me just to not even deal with you. And it was horrible. Having the affair was a continuation of my non-confrontational ways. It allowed me to get what I needed, not from the person that I needed, but it filled a need short term. Then you get to the point where you're just like, you can't even look at the person looking back at you in the mirror. Feel, at least I know I did, the shame, because I'm still an addict. I take that to the 10th degree. Oh, and then by the way, I'm abusing steroids, like at a ridiculous level, which is starting the spiral of my
Mm-hmm.
life now
Mm-hmm.
because the affair, I get caught, and it's just like the inevitability of everything came crashing down. Being investigated at work for steroids, being suspended. My numbers, you're supposed to be around 400 to 800. I'm over 4,000,
Mm.
and I'm going through marital issues, and the walls start getting really, they start closing in,
Starts getting
and
dark, I imagine.
it gets real dark real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, but we know each other pretty well. You would bet a lot of money that I was somebody that would never think about hurting himself, knowing the guy that you know now. That suicidal ideation and thinking that things would be better off if you weren't there. And
Absolutely.
I got to get out of this. And I've disappointed so many people. And
That's the thought.
how do I look at my daughter, and how does she look at me? And my father-in-law, everybody's disappointed in me. And
Yeah.
it's just fucking horrible. And
Yeah.
you get to that really dark place really quick, and then you just
Yeah.
painted yourself in a corner. And you're, where do I go?
Right. Your
What do I
brain
do?
says, here's an option.
And I always used to think, the more I've done this, the more I've researched. There's a woman, a doctor, Olivia Johnson, and she's come up with the 10 fatal warning signs for suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple schools that think that suicide is a mental illness. But I got to tell you, when you look at suicide and all these contributing factors, and she put out these 10, and I checked every one of those 10 off. You destroy your relation. Listen, the most important thing that you can do to keep from hurting yourself is have a healthy relationship. Is put the work in with the people that you love and that love you unconditionally. But we fucking discard them. We can't possibly appreciate the importance of love and being loved until we're at that point thinking about driving our fucking car into the side of the embankment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's half of the suicides are the result of a marriage dissolving.
Yes.
Don't do a fucking thing about our relationships. We do nothing to encourage a strong family unit. And if anything, we do the exact opposite.
And in fact, one of the stats that which is why one of my reasons for doing the podcast and putting out information is a strong relationship is the number one resilience factor. If we want healthy officers, they need strong relationships, right? That is a statistic that I can pull from a research article. And you're talking the same thing. This idea of not understanding that I push and push away from my relationships when actually I need to be pulling that in. But it also goes to something that you talked about, an avoidance of conflict, an avoidance of doing things difficult, an avoidance, because having a relationship is hard. It's tough.
If we only and this is the other thing, you don't realize the importance of doing the work until it's too late.
Yeah.
I do my speaking, and I get really raw, Cindy. I don't give a fuck. I call it the way it is. And I was a piece of shit for a really long time. I was not proud of the man that I had become, but I knew I had some people in my life, again, kind of shake me.
Mm-hmm.
And, ask me some hard questions. The thing with coaching is you don't tell anybody anything. I don't tell Cindy Doyle. I ask Cindy Doyle questions to make her come to the realization that we both are looking for, right? That's what we do. We ask really well thought out questions. When I do my presentation, when I'm done, I can't tell you, my phone, it's just blowing up. I've got guys calling me saying, I called my wife after you speak and I apologized to her. Had you in my life a year ago, because I know now that I would not have gotten a divorce and I would have changed the way I was acting. And because we don't know, we're so submersed in the middle of it that we think everything that we're doing is normal. And our spouses, we don't ever take the time to talk to our spouses, to let them know, to develop a routine that keeps everybody healthy, right? We don't ever let them know that, hey, the reason why when I get home, I don't talk to you isn't because I don't love you. It's because I'm trying to protect you from the filth and the trauma that I saw at work. But see, you think I'm just being distant. And instead of you giving me time to decompress, you go, well, I'm taking the fucking kids and we're going to my folks' house.
Yeah.
And all these little miscommunications start driving wedges in our relationship. And then next thing, a year or two has gone by, and then the old adage, well, we just grew apart. Fucking bullshit. You know what? You stopped doing the things that made you successful in your relationship. You stopped caring, you stopped communicating, you stopped connecting. And when you do that, you can't be shocked when it goes to shit.
That is exactly it. Thank you for putting it so succinctly.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
that's what it is, right?
Right.
It's you start doing something at the beginning of your relationship, and then eventually I distance, I don't share this idea of I'm protecting you from what I do and see. Yes, and
There has to be
it
the follow-up to
it
that. Yes.
has to be shared some way so I know
Right.
what's going on in your world.
Right.
And this idea that distances us as a couple, that oh, I'm holding on to this. I don't know what's going on. I misinterpret the cues. I think you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
And really you're trying to churn through things in your head. I've lost, right?
Right.
We've both lost because we're no longer connected and sharing what's really meaningful to each other.
Yeah. Which is unfortunately why you're as busy as you are. Right. Love the fact that you're out there really, you're not putting band-aids on anybody. You're applying tourniquets and you're saving lives. Right. That's my
Yeah.
analogy for you. Because by the time somebody comes to you, it's been going on for years. And so you have this unique ability to get in the middle of it because you come from a place of knowing and experience, and you're able to save a lot of people. And that's really awesome. It's all self-inflicted, Cindy.
Yeah.
It does no one any good to point fingers. The other thing is, listen, I've seen my fair share of horror and trauma, just like an ER room nurse, just
Mhm.
like a firefighter, just like a social worker, just like kids growing up nowadays, the trauma and the bullshit that they get exposed to. But we can't let it define us.
Right. We
Can't,
can't let it to
it-
define us.
no, we can't. And,
One of
you
the
know,
things that you're talking about is similar to what I say in the sense that we have to figure out where do we want to go? Who's the person that we want to show up as? What's my character? And then are our behaviors and belief like do we show up in that way? And unfortunately, when you're talking about, I'm going to go back to unacceptable behavior is continually normalized. And so we slowly get off track of where we want to be. And so realigning over and over again to the person that you want to be has to be a part of our continual process. If people are going, if officers and families are going to continue to be, I'm going to say more human
right.
in this field. I know that you just alluded to that giving presentations and that it's really impactful for the people listening to you to hear your story. I know you also have some key messages. What are some of your key messages that you give during your presentations? What does my audience need to know besides just knowing your story?
I didn't take this into account until I was a grown man, that if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't value self-care, you can fake it. You can fake it for a little bit, but eventually you're gonna have to pay the fare. Eventually the bills due. And if you have built a life on taking care of everyone else at the
Mm,
expense of at the expense of doing the hard work of taking care of yourself, asking yourself hard questions, doing the work to make you a better human, a better father, a better husband, a better friend. If you put that on the back burner, there is going to come a day, and it's going to come at the absolute worst moment,
mm,
that you're going to be adrift. You're going to be lost, because it's not selfishness. It's about understanding the importance of you adding value to your own life. And we do that by acknowledging that there can be no taking care of others until we truly take care of ourselves. And I'm not big into those bullshit catchphrases and all that nonsense. Looks great on the back of a car for a fucking bumper sticker or something. But at the end of the day, truly, that means something different for everybody. I know the man I never want to be again.
mm.
I know the importance of, sometimes you don't realize you don't know what you have. So who values life beyond all else? The guy who almost loses it.
Yeah. And the goal isn't to get to that place. I
Right.
think that's why you do what you
We
do, right? You're
we
like,
don't
let's
need
not
to
get to
put our
that place where
hand.
you'll most lose it.
Yeah. We don't need to put our hand in the fire to know it's hot.
Yeah.
Just take my
Yeah.
word for it.
Yeah.
And the key message of you taking care of yourself, you making yourself a priority so you can be there for the people in your life that you love and that love you unconditionally. The importance of owning it, the importance of admitting when you're wrong, and then just and being okay with it, being okay with not being perfect, being okay with failing people, and then just saying, you know what? That'll never fucking happen again. And I promise you that. And that every day, constant, never ending self improvement, that ripple effect by you being better,
Mm-hmm.
it's far reaching, Cindy. And I think that ultimately, without turning this into some big philosophical approach, is that we all want to be better humans, right? I
Right.
want to be a better version of John. I want to be somebody that adds value to this world. And I do that by working on myself.
Mhm.
That allows me to be more empathetic. That allows me to see things through a different perspective, which keeps me open to the possibilities that maybe I don't fucking know everything. Maybe there's something out there that I could learn from. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we owe that to each other. There's a moral obligation to care. John doesn't have to like Cindy. I do, but I don't have to, right?
Right.
But I do need to care about Cindy. That's a social contract that we have as humans, that I don't have to like you, but I have to care. Why do you think we got guys and girls in first responder community putting their lives at risk
Right.
daily for complete strangers? Because that's the vow that we
Yes.
take, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. And I think that's what we need to be doing a better job of, taking care of each other.
It definitely, when you talking about the fact of taking care of yourself, making sure that you are one of those things is I think you continually assess that you have to check in with yourself and am I on the right path? But taking care of yourself, taking care of, I would say mental, emotional, physical wellness, whatever that looks like, right?
Yes,
And that looks different for everybody.
right.
And then you're talking about caring. Am I on the right path? And then making sure that I'm continually caring. So you can show up for yourself, for people that you love, and trying to be better every day. What's one thing that I want to improve upon today? I also think about the idea of people that serve as mentors. You're serving as a mentor now to other people. We were talking a little bit before about some of your new ventures that you're looking at doing and how you're
Yeah.
going to be serving as a mentor, and just noticing somebody when you were at an event
Mm,
this past week, or I think it was this
yes,
past week,
right,
noticing somebody and then that sticking with you enough to make a phone call and
right.
say, hey, I saw you and that wasn't okay. And we're going to talk. You're serving in that mentor capacity. And I think that everybody needs some type of mentor. If they don't have a mentor, whether it's a wife mentor or an officer mentor, a mentor couple that you can align to or look towards, there's lots of, we have social media, right? The World Wide Web. I feel like I'm being old saying that, but
Oh my
there, you don't
goodness.
have to look just in your community.
Right.
Look elsewhere. John, I think you're an amazing mentor for other
Oh,
people to say, look, I fell down and it's okay to fall and it's human to fall and you can get back up.
right.
And it's going to be, we'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
And it might look different and it's worth it.
Yeah.
And doing the hard work. You do the hard
I
work.
have a saying, things don't get effed up overnight. They don't get fixed overnight either. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Unfortunately, we're in that place of this immediate gratification. I
Yeah.
want everything now. Well, a year of bad decisions doesn't get changed overnight.
Heck
And
no.
again, being realistic about doing the work.
Yeah. You are, I think your website is law enforcement life coach, right?
Yep.
.com. Is that right?
Lawenforcementlifecoach.com. Real nice and short.
What kind of coaching? Who's your people? If
My
somebody's
people,
listening, who would be the person that needs to call you?
right? It's funny. Obviously, the name is kind of, it sounds rather I'm excluding a lot of people, but I've had people from all walks of life, primarily first responders, veterans, people in the law enforcement, corrections, EMS community reach out. And my program, I look at the personal, professional, financial, physical, and mental health of us. And it sounds like a mouthful, but I truly believe that you can't work on just one area of you. That, listen, we're multifaceted. If you're saying my relationship, John, I want to talk about my marriage and I need to be better at my, oh, okay, well, let's delve in. But what are you doing about your physical health? What are you doing about your emotional health? What are you doing about your finances? Or your finances are out of control and you're working details every waking hour that you're not assigned to work, and you want to work on your marriage too. Okay.
A problem.
Right. So maybe the real issue is your finances are completely out of whack. And if we can address that, that will start making your relationship more fulfilling and allow you to connect with your right. So I take a whole person approach to my coaching. Very rarely are things in a vacuum, right? I mean, it's multifaceted. And if we just do a little bit in each of those areas, again, it's got to be sustainable, right? It's got to be sustainable. But if we just do a little bit in each of those areas, if you start taking care of yourself, if you start reading, how is reading gonna, trust me, pick up a book, shut the TV off, read a chapter on some self-improvement. So get an insight from something that you're interested in that will add value to your life. I know the Housewives of New York City is a very entertaining program, but I don't know the hell you'll watch. But
Cooking
we're
shows.
we're so drawn to that stupid box on the wall. Shut it off. Go outside. Go for a walk, right? Go for a walk. Go to the beach. When was the last time you were at the beach? Go for a hike. Do something that doesn't involve the phone or the TV and start reconnecting. And so those are the people that I speak with. I have a lot of people that are new to the law enforcement profession that they don't want to misstep. They need some help and guidance. And what should I be doing? What should I be thinking? I help. And it's just overall wellness.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's John Kelly, guys. He's an amazing guy. So you have not only heard his story, he's giving you some advice, and he tells you like, hey, if you need some help, I'm here to help. He can help in two ways. His website again is lawenforcementlifecoach.com, but go pick up his book, Surviving Self-Inflicted Wound, A Deputy's Life of Redemption. It's amazing. You can check out his website. He has a speaking on there as well. By the way, John also has a podcast. And what's the name of your podcast?
The Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. And I have some amazing guests. I think if I go back into the archives, there was this one woman, really, her initials was CD, but I don't want to throw anything out there. No, good stuff.
So John has a lot to offer. John, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Is there a better way for people to get a hold of you if they want to reach you?
The website is kind of all inclusive. It's got links to everything, scheduling links. We could talk, phone numbers. It's got whatever your best method of communicating, you can find it on the website. And it lets me know immediately. The technology is kind of cool. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Cindy.
Until next time, guys, keep it code 4.
Thanks for joining us. For more information about the podcast or Cindy, check out code4couples.com. All intellectual property rights owned by CRLD2 Ventures, LLC, are protected by the firm of 9mm, 45 ACP, 5.56mm, and 12 gauge.